To the computer. Cool. So we got a handful of things on the agenda today, so we can jump in. First up on the roadmap side of things, we talked last week about the plans for Q1. I got buy-in for those from Mike Flatten over on my side of the house. So we're going to start working into that. So the main themes that we've got for this milestone are to create a prototype for the homepage designs that Amelia's been working on so that we can enable user research. I want to state over and over, this is not shipping something to production. We're not worried about quality or testing. We just want something that'll help us understand the data and people get a real feel for what kind of content they would see on the page. So this is not PM trying to sneak something out to production quickly. You're safe. The other big theme will be addressing user feedback and quality issues in the to-do list, right? We're not going to be looking at shipping major features on the to-do list this quarter, but we want to continue refining and polishing what's there. So in the milestone issue we've got there, loads of little fiddly bugs, UI polish. If there's anything in there that's massive, please let me know. That's not the intent. Um, and similarly, if there's things that you know we should do that aren't in there, feel free to toss them in. All right. No updates to share on the research side. Hopefully, we'll have some of that in the next couple of milestones. Tahina is going to start getting ready to do a diary study with this prototype. So by 17.11 or 18.0, we'll have some good results to review. All right. Over on active projects, Paul.
Yes. So on the snoozing feature, I would say that all the critical parts are now shipped in 17.9. And I think the biggest update from last meeting is the custom snooze model, which was deployed to production last week. So that's in. We still have a few adjustments to make. Most notably, there's the custom sort order in the pending tab, where we want to surface the previously snooze to-dos a bit better. So we have a feature flag for that. It's enabled for all team members at the moment. We were waiting on the new database index to keep things a bit more performant in that tab. It's now live in production too. Yeah, so I'll remove that feature flag early on in the next milestone.
Nice.
Apart from
So the
that,
new sort
there's
order will make it into 17.9 as well?
it won't.
It won't. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
aiming for the next milestone for that.
Okay.
Yep. And yeah, apart from that, there's a few minor UX tweaks that we want to make. Those are being tracked in the issue, but it's yeah, pretty much well, it's so minor that I don't consider them really critical for the feature.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Do we have some sort of I guess metrics for that feature flag, right? Like I know we added the index in to make sure that it stayed performant. Like, do we have a way of checking that even as we add more users, this stays performant? Like, don't turn the feature flag off unless we have or haven't hit these things, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm sure we do. I'm not sure where to check, to be honest. And yeah, this ties into my potential OKR for tracking metrics, right? I guess I need to find the dashboard somewhere in Grafana or something. But yeah, at the moment I'm kind of eyeballing it. I'm hoping that it stays performant. Yeah.
Okay, we can figure that out on the rollout issue, right? Cool. Thanks, Paul.
Awesome. Thank you all so
Bulk.
much. Thomas.
Yeah, and on the bulk thing, also everything that needed to make it into 79 made it, with mostly these new GraphQL mutations for the bulk snooze, unsnooze, and so on. Also, the UI is basically there behind the feature flag. So like when to show these action buttons on which tab and so on. They just don't do anything yet, but now everything is ready to make the buttons do something. And think there isn't anything majorly or anything big missing. So I think in 17.10 we can enable it and hopefully or likely also gather enough feedback to remove or default enable the flag. At least pretty sure can manage that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Thomas. I'll be glad to get that in. Feels like at least weekly, I'm hearing somebody run into issues with the mark all is done button. So it'll be good to have this whole flow be more explicit. All right. On the personalized homepage, Amelia's off enjoying a well-deserved vacation this week. So just an update from her. She's put together some initial designs for the prototype that we're going to be building. The focus that she had was getting kind of the content right. The visual design will probably change. The layout will probably change as we iterate. So the goal when we're building this is not to build something that's to spec, like to the design spec. We want to just focus on getting the data that surfaced in the mockups real, live, and functional, so that we can test with it.
Does that mean we're having an engineer construct this prototype with live data? Okay, sweet.
Yep, exactly. The goal is to have users on GitLab.com be able to log into this thing, and whether that means it's a separate site that OAuth's in, or that's something that's baked into the product, that's for engineering to decide. But it'll pull all the relevant data that we want to show and let us test to make sure that like it's all useful. There's not a ton of overlap in the categories of data that we're looking at. Um, yeah, all the other questions that Amelia has written down of what we want to understand.
Oh, love that. Very exciting.
Cool. IP, data retention.
Yeah, I just scrolled down and saw that last last time we still discussed data retention, if I see it correctly. So the big update, I guess, is we've decided not to do any data retention on to-dos, and we're instead going to focus on partitioning the database. Also, with the incidents that we have been seeing, so since last time we also had an incident that related to deletion of users and therefore cascading of deletion of to-dos, and other issues we identified during that incident, and other ongoing incidents that have to do with, here's something happening when like something is deleted, or like probably has more quality work on the Rails side as well that's needed. So I guess we have two streams of work. One of them is the database part, and the other one is understanding the cascading effects that something might have on our to-dos table, right? Yeah. Just to give a tiny example, when a user is deleted, we are actually deleting like all kinds of to-dos. But if a user is hard deleted and they have created an issue, and someone on the issue is actually pinged someone other than the user deleted, created a to-do on that issue, that to-do might still be in a database. So we saw it in the past, for example, where merge requests were created, and then potentially as part of deleting the merge request, we still had pings from GitLab bot on that in the database, right? Yeah. I think that's the update. So happy that Goja is also on board, and we potentially need to have maybe a session where we talk about stuff together and maybe start drawing out the complexities of to-dos. Yeah.
I would love that.
Please.
Yeah, good old-fashioned entity relationship diagram, right? Like, who's not going to love that? Dust off the old UML books or something. I don't know.
IP, your work on all of the database stuff, is that something you're actively working on? I didn't include it in the 1710 plans. I'm wondering if I should just go back and update it, or if this is stuff that needs more research and definition before we're ready to go.
I mean, with the changes happening, like Goja onboarding, I think maybe we should have a discussion around that. Maybe we just map things out, because to be frank, I think on the Rails cascading side, a lot of research is needed. And I think on the database partitioning side, it's the question who wants to lead that effort because it's like a multiple milestone, migration, background
Yeah.
migrations, etc. thing. And so it's the question, right? Like who wants to do
Okay.
it? I think we have a rough plan on how we should do things, but it needs to be talked through with database and yeah. Um, yeah. So if we don't have anything, we could put like a spike research issue something on there and at least Goja and I and maybe anyone else who's interested from engineering, right?
Yeah, we can definitely save time for it in 1710. Just not expect to ship anything, do all the research and planning. We don't have a
Yeah.
shortage of issues in 1710. I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that we just had the right ones in there.
No, that makes sense. Like, I mean, the good thing is we have a big database that has a lot of broken data in it. One milestone more is not going to change that fact, right? Like whether we're
Yeah.
going to clean up 100,000 to-dos from the database or 120, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's not going to get worse at the moment, right? But
Yeah.
I have the fear that we're going to see more incidents. So if we're not going about this strategically, we just might be playing catch up with incidents over the next couple of milestones rather than just trying to fix that thing holistically. Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Thank you for that. All right. Austin, you got a question for us.
Yeah, and feel free to tell me if any of these things are just like off radar, we don't care about them anymore, or if they've moved more into the spotlight. These are just things that I've been like I noticed a little bit while I was away, or just was curious about where they've kind of gotten to. I noticed there was a announcement shared that we've are testing out like an adjustment to the projects page on your work. Just kind of curious how that's been like for you guys, or for anybody else in the company. It sounds like that's just internal right now, and I've also seen some commentary on the merge request changes too. So. Jeff, you left a few thoughts there.
Yeah, neither of those have come from our team. They're
Mhm.
kind of a lot of folks in the organization that are looking at similar and related problems. I started last week. Maybe that was this week. This has been a long week. Trying to pull everybody together, looking at these problems and be like, here's what we're doing on the homepage. And look, Christina, you're working on this, and Kai, you're working on this, and Dylan, you're working on this, and see if we can all start talking about, addressing it across the organization rather than in the silos of just projects and just merge requests, which is some of the feedback that I've seen that it's shipping the org chart a little too much.
Got it. Um, it's maybe also a little reassuring to hear that it validates a little bit more the direction it's going with the personalized homepage too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen comments in, I think it was Michael's feedback issue on the MR page asking for exactly what we're building. It's like, okay, good. We're going to do that.
At least one voice wants what we want to do. So
Exactly.
that's good.
Exactly.
Okay, and then another thing that I think was like moving forward before I want to leave, but I'm curious if it ever went off or if we came to a conclusion on it with Ben and testing out like the positioning of our search functionality either in our super or sidebar or if we want to move it somewhere else. So never actually shipped. Okay, got
Nope.
it.
Yeah,
Is
around the time Ben was pushing that forward, he got to take ownership of the AI framework team. So that has consumed most of his attention from that point on.
Understood. Yep, that can be quite demanding. Um,
Yes.
yeah. Hi, Gosha. Glad you're here.
I just want to like join the meeting today to see what you're talking about and what kind of fun things I will be working on. And I think Lucas gave me a good sneak peek.
Love it.
I, I want to, sorry, Gosh, I want to jump back slightly to the search bar thing. Like that did go, right? If you go on staging, there is a search bar in the top bar. Like, is that a different thing?
No, it went on staging, but it never went to production. It's all feature flagged, right? And so they enabled the feature on staging, but then they never ended up turning it on for any users on .com. At least that's my understanding. But
The only thing that I think trickled through to production would have been the positioning of the modal itself, where it appears on the page is at the top. instead of like being towards the center.
Oh,
So
interesting. I didn't notice
I
that.
think that was like an effort to like, cover up the search bar once you click on it, but like that,
Mm,
but that I think has been there
good
since it
eyes.
went aging. So didn't even know it's not a big deal. Just
Yeah.
something that I just remembered.
Didn't we also have some breadcrumb issues with the even if the feature flag is disabled,
Yeah, that
Thomas?
also trickled through by they changed something on the flex box to basically shrink the area that is available for the dynamic breadcrumbs, which is a bug that should be fixed. By
Should be or
watching
has
that.
been.
I think we only discussed it this week, so I think it's
Okay.
Still there.
Not sure
Okay.
yet. Okay. Okay.
Okay. And the other thing that I've just had in like the back of my mind, I was just curious, Thomas, if it went anywhere. You were working on something in like your fifth week effort of like trying to refactor how the navigation feels when you're kind of going between pages so that it felt less uh jumpy, like where you get like a flash of just like a whole white page because it's reloading and rebuilding the whole sidebar. I was curious if you are able to get that any farther along or if
yeah, we still,
stuck.
or the discussion on this proof of concept got a bit stale over the change of the year, so I also haven't pushed it much this year yet. As with any bigger change, there's also many reasons not to do it, so there's a good technical discussion in there. Um, but as I think IP pinged yesterday that we should continue, and if it's just to officially close the idea or push it further. But like I said, if you're curious, read the discussion. There's a bunch of it. And
Yeah.
I also see pros and cons in doing it like that. Um, Under the line, it would mean a bit more JavaScript than we have now. And there's also
Yeah.
arguments against that, right?
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. If you could link me to the discussion, I'll happily read it.
I think it's this one.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for our end on that discussion is like even if we are putting this forward, this is like a really big cross ownership own thing, and there would be a lot of research needed. And given the capacity the team has, it would be the question who does it, right? And why I think it potentially provides a better UX. I don't know if with the new push for if it's a feature that sells, right?
That's the
Um,
thing. It would kind of need buy-in from everyone to ever finish this thing. And while discussing, or even before I had the idea, I guess, there are other movements, like, for example, this rapid diffs thing, which is a feature flag you can turn on, and then more of the diff views, if I understand this correctly, are server-side rendered to speed up the initial page load of big merge request diff pages, if I understand it correctly. Sorry if I said it wrong and you hear this recording. But this is like different efforts, right? Like, and with the mixed beast that GitLab is in how we do front end and where we do it, maybe the idea can't catch up to where we will be when we would catch up. You know what I mean? But check it out. I'd be super curious in like more takes on that or more opinions on that.
Awesome.
All
Well,
right.
the agenda.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
everything. Anything else y'all want to hit on before we wrap? Cool. Well, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great afternoon. I'll see you later.